Walker, how's it going?
Hey, going all right. How are you, Ben?
Yeah, good. Walker, of course, Make Noise, Superbooth 2019. We have lots of stereo goodness, which I'm really glad Modular's moving that way.
It's been kind of a long and gradual process.
Yeah.
Almost like a bunch of stepping stones for us, from reverb to Morphogene, then on to QPOS, and now X-Pan.
Well, to create stereo and then mix it and then modulate it and then continue to process stereo.
Yeah, and kind of like the fact that the typical signal path in modular is still usually mono.
Yeah.
Being able to make it stereo and then also take all the different stereo sources that result and use them together in an easy way. Yeah.
Well, with like the X-Pan, you're pulling in stereo, so it's not necessarily the end of chain effect anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of far from that at this point, it feels.
Yeah, I agree. It's become more modular in a lot of ways, the ability to use stereo, or at least that's what we're aiming for. So, shall we show you some stuff and see?
You mentioned X-Pan. I'm sure people know by this time the video goes online, but you've hit us with some other goodness for Superbooth.
Yes, we do. We've got the well, in addition to the X-Pan here, we've also got the Soundhack Mimeophon. And then down at the bottom here, we've got the XO. So these all deal with stereo in some way or another. I think we'll start with the Mimeophon, which is it's a new algorithm from Tom Erbe. We're calling it a stereo multi-zone color audio repeater.
Nice.
Nice mouthful there, and there's a reason for each one of those words in there. Stereo, I think that part is pretty obvious. It's 2 ins and 2 outs. You know what? I'm going to really quickly pull the pan modulation out of here. So we just have a mono signal going in, and if you're listening on headphones, you'll hear that it's just a single channel in the middle. Right now, the Mimeophon is acting in mono as well. We can control the rate, of course, the number of repeats. If we press this skew button here, it's going to become more stereo in the fact that the rate control will now control one side of the one channel of the module in the opposite direction from the other channel. So
one gets faster, one gets faster and shorter, one gets longer times on the other side.
Yeah, that's right. So it's really easy using skew to get kind of layered repeats that are taking both channels of the input and applying to them differently. Then we've got something called zone, which is going to set the size of these repeats, and it's an instantaneous change that can go from kind of micro sound length repeats for little things like flange, chorus, stuff like that.
Kind of like buffer size almost, like the kind of almost like the size of a grain if it was a granular process.
Yeah, absolutely. However, the cool thing about zone is that it actually is applying to a whole bunch of different buffers, which means that it can switch from one to the other instantaneously. There's no kind of Dopplering when you switch them. And also, each of the buffers, each of the zones is recording into the next bigger zone. So if you go to the biggest zone out here, you'll start to hear things that were done sometime back in the smaller zones.
I love that as a performance thing, just being able to bring in kind of the past, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's nested, different layers of time that are nested one to the next. So it's really fun. Then we've got halo and color. These are the kind of character or shaping controls, and they are both part of the feedback path that creates the repeats, as well as being fed into each other in various ways. Therefore, they kind of take a cumulative effect. If you turn color up, you'll hear it getting brighter a little bit more and more and more over time. You can turn halo up to add smears of sound around the edges, and they both tend to gain in intensity the longer it goes with repeats, as well as obviously the sound accumulating more and more.
Is a smear kind of akin to like diffusing a delay into a reverb-like effect?
It's a lot like that. It's got some other like magic, Tom Erbe magic that happens in various places, but that's the basis of it, yes. And then, I mentioned that on zone, it's instantaneous, no Doppler. On rate, you hear that there actually is the possibility for a Doppler shift, but if we use the tempo input, then we'll also have rate become a tempo synced, actually 2 tempo synced delay lines.
So then does the shifting still work the same? One will kind of step up through musical divisions, one will step down through musical divisions?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, as long as you keep it skewed. And the great thing is there is no in between. It's not sliding in pitch in between them. It's now just doing that same crossfading thing that zone does, where it's an instantaneous change. So, really easy to create polyrhythms and stuff like that, continuously evolving. You also have the control called flip, which turns the repeats backwards. And we have also hold, which will hold whatever is currently in the buffer indefinitely, and it's a non-destructive hold, so you can do whatever you want to it, from changing zones, changing its color, adding halos, and when you go back to where you were, it's still going to be there exactly like it was when you first held it. Oh, oops. I just realized I was looking behind the camera here that the hold wasn't on while I was just doing that, so I'm going to press hold again and try that again. It's very loud in here, so I didn't necessarily hear everything, but so here I've got something held, and I'm switching around zones, changing its color, adding halos, etc., and it's not gonna, the actual contents of the zone are not changing while I do that.
Yeah, non-destructive.
Yeah. So yeah, it's also very responsive to modulation, and it can be all parameters, obviously, can be modulated at once if we want, or if we don't want. Well, only if we want. Yeah, we have control. We can even kind of use gate inputs to turn flip and hold on and off, turning it from reverse to forwards very quickly here. I'm going to reach over and make that a little slower.
Seems like a really creative stereo, not just delay, not just diffused reverb, kind of spatial processor.
I think that there's, in some ways, there's traces of a whole bunch of different types of effects in here.
Lots of familiar moments, but lots of in-between moments as well.
And people have asked me if it's a successor to the Echophone, and it's not. It's based on new DSP, but it also, in addition to having echo, it's got some reverb type elements, it's got some granular type elements, it's got some long looping type elements. It's almost like it's got little traces of several of the Soundhack modules that we make, but is something that's kind of its own new thing as well. Yeah.
We've got, you say, XO below as well?
XO, yeah, we've got XO down here. This is a 2-input stereo mixer and outputs module. It's simply 2 stereo inputs that are summed together in their own level controls. I've got a QPOS going in here on the channel A side, and then we've still got the Mimeophone coming into channel B. So as we were kind of mentioning, there's a lot of stereo outputs in the system now, and obviously you want to be able to route things however you want. It's easy to route one thing into the next in a line.
Yeah, of course.
But summing stereo in modular has been pretty tough sometimes in the past. Sometimes you got to use multiple mixers, and it's just a little more patching than we felt you'd really want to do. So this is just an easy way to sum a couple stereo channels. Then you've got line level outputs left and right, as well as a headphone out with a volume control that's based on the same circuit as the one on the CV bus. Some really nice soft saturation when you really crank it to protect your ears and your speakers and all that. Yeah.
So people are of course going to want to know how far off these are from release and rough pricing or final pricing, even if you've got it.
Yeah, we have final pricing on the X-Pan and XO. So the X-Pan is $259 and it'll be shipping in 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay, so
that's 10 HP module. XO is 6 HP, $110, and we're looking to ship next month in June.
Okay.
And the Mimeophone is 16 HP. Price is TBD. We haven't fully calculated that yet. And we're gonna shops will open for pre-orders next month, and we're looking to ship at the end of the summer. Yeah. So,
Thank you.
thank you, Ben. Always good to see you.
Yeah, likewise.